There are a lot of storylines flying around this Phillies team right now, but none bigger than Kyle Schwarber and the absolute tear that he is on. We saw it in full force in the final game in the Dodgers series, in which he nearly single-handedly carried this team to a victory, and also got a little inside information on how he is as a locker room leader. Kind of cool how we hear these stories all the time through the grapevines of what a great leader he is, but a little bit of insight from how exactly he interacts with his teammates. We're going to break all that down, and particularly what a heater he's on with my guy Luke Arcaini. But before we dive fully into it, do want to make sure you guys are smashing that subscribe button. That at this point in time, 93.5% of you guys tuning in the videos have not subscribed to Phillies Digest just yet. We're in for the home stretch of baseball and got a lot to break down, so I want each and every one of you along for the ride. So Luke, I'll throw it to you off the bat. I think my take right here is Kyle Schwarber is the current MVP of this Phillies team, and he has a little bit of a conversation of sneaking into that full MLB MVP race. Your thoughts?
Yeah, you've nailed every note on the head so far. I think he's been the most valuable player on this Phillies team this year. I mean, if you look at the season stats, right, at 27 home runs, 73 RBIs, a 260 average from a guy who obviously is the leadoff hitter, but from a guy last year hit under 200. I mean, the averages went up over 60 points. He has the third best on base percentage in the entire National League. There's one player in the entire National League with I got to pull it exactly up, but it's something along the lines of I think it's like 80 walks, 25 homers, and a 380 on base percentage. I think he's the only player in the National League to do that. The dude's walking at a historic clip. He's hitting the piss out of the ball right now. He's hitting 470 over his last 7 games. He has 1,000 slugging percentage. He has a 1,700 OPS over the last week. He has an 1,100 OPS over the last 30 games with a 280 average in 111 at bats. He has 10 home runs over his last 30 games, 8 homers over his last 15 games. The dude's just on a tear. There's no better guy that you would want sort of like setting that tone. And honestly, I think my favorite Schwarber stat of this season is that his batting average is 20 points higher on the road. When a lot of guys tend to sort of take a bit of a step back on the road, Kyle Schwarber steps up when the team kind of takes a step back. I think we all know how great the Phillies play at home, but when they get out on the road, Kyle Schwarber's just playing better than he does at Citizens Bank Park.
Yeah, but Luke, I thought this dude hit too many home runs to be a leadoff hitter.
He does. He does. He strikes out too much. You know, he doesn't. It's not like he leads the National League in walks. Just can't be a leadoff hitter.
Yeah, insane how long that conversation has gone on. And I will say, nothing hits quite like the first at bat, Schwarber, and then up 1-0. It's great. I've come to love it even more the more that we've seen it.
Yeah, it's.
Go ahead.
It's not like he's top 10 in the history of baseball and leadoff home runs. Then the other 9 people all have over 1,000 games played, and he has around 500 something. So it's pretty. Yeah, no. Shouldn't hit leadoff though.
Shout out to Kyle Schwarber. And coming off a night, the final game against the Dodgers, which he was 4 for 4 with 3 home runs, a double, 7 RBIs total on the game. As you mentioned, third in the entire National League as far as on-base percentage there. Some really impressive stuff. And to take a little bit larger sample size, over his last 11, in 40 at-bats, he's had 12 runs, 17 hits, 3 doubles, 7 home runs, 15 RBIs, and 12 walks. That's a .425 batting average, a .547 OBP there, and over 1,000 on the slugging percentage. Just ridiculous stuff. These are like video game numbers beyond that we're seeing from Schwarber. I get that it is a hot streak. We did miss out on the June Schwarber experience, I think, a little bit this year. Maybe it's coming a little late, and this is what it is. But the bottom line
It's
is
August Schwarber.
Yeah, it's August Schwarber.
We might just have to rename him to August Schwarber.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's cool to me specifically is it feels like he's carrying this team in a way. Like, I don't think I've ever seen, again, we've had these conversations and heard about Kyle Schwarber as a leader, and I do want to bring up the Tyler Phillips quote after this, but he really seems to be embodying, like, this team needs me right now. I'm stepping it up, and I'm getting the job done. And I think, like, that 7 RBI performance is a complete example of that.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like whenever this team sort of goes in a rut, right? And obviously we know that this team is still and I get it. Winning these last two games is good. I'd still say they're still in that rut. I think they're getting out of it. And I think tonight they're really going to continue to get out of it. But we know this team's been in a rut for at least like over a month now. And what I love so much about Schwarber is that in a time where we were like 5-15 over the last 20 games, he's hitting like at a historic clip over those games. Like, while everyone is suffering and everyone's in a slump and Bryce Harper's 2 for 40 something, Kyle Schwarber's playing his best baseball of his Phillies career. So like even in the times where guys are struggling, Kyle Schwarber's doing every possible thing that he can to sort of keep this going. And on the field is one thing, but in the locker room is another thing. And that's really where, listen, Schwarber's a great baseball player. I think Schwarber brings more to the clubhouse than he does to the field. And that's saying a lot, because Kyle Schwarber brings a lot to the field. This guy is a proven leader. He got interviewed last night after the game, and they asked him about his 3 home runs, and he talked about Tyler Phillips. He talked about Johan Rojas coming in for Austin Hayes. He talked about Edmundo Sosa. Like, the dude just had 3 home runs and 7 RBIs, and all he wants to talk about is his teammates. Like, it's just something that every team needs. And I'll tell you, I could count on one hand how many teams have a leader like Schwarber. I don't think any team in baseball has a leader like Schwarber. Yeah. It's really been awesome because obviously we know, and I said this earlier, that if you were to ask me who the best baseball player on the Phillies is, the obvious answer is Bryce Harper, right? There's no doubt, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's not a single argument to anybody else. But like, if you were to ask me like who like the leader of this team is, and like, not the face, because the face is still Bryce, but like the leader and the backbone and the driving force, it's undoubtedly Kyle Schwarber for me.
Yeah, I think spot on. And you mentioned kind of the Tyler Phillips conversation. I did want to pull up this quote here. Shout out to Alex Coffey for reporting this. But she says, in the 6th inning, Kyle Schwarber approached Tyler Phillips. Quote, he was like, "That was huge. You kept us in the game." And I'm like, dude, you just gave us the lead. That was huge. What? Yes, you did. We were almost kind of getting into an argument. So kind of cool how that is. And I did watch the full interview with Tyler Phillips, who was very upbeat about it. And shout out to Tyler Phillips for battling through, because it didn't look pretty early on. He was getting hit around pretty hard and found a way to settle in and get the job done and hang in there in the way that the team needed. So shout out to him. And very cool that Schwarber is as open and as active as kind of expressing that to him, which I think is really important, particularly for a young pitcher, which we know how like critical confidence is at that point, that we're kind of at this little bit of a make and break period for Tyler Phillips, who's starting to face the book is out on him to an extent. The guys are hitting him harder. So good for Kyle Schwarber for stepping in and trying to feed into that confidence a little bit. And just kind of cool how like he is the selfless guy. That yesterday was about Kyle Schwarber. Even if him not trying to acknowledge it and for that not to be the case, like that team won because of Kyle. And it's very cool that he's out there about this. So it's cool to me that like we've heard all these reports of what a locker room leader is. There's more and more of these stories leaking out, and I'm absolutely with you that he is the heartbeat of this Phillies team.
Yeah, I mean there's no doubt. It's just I every night I feel like there's a new quote coming out, and it's just like it feels like he is the guy. Like anybody on this team I truly believe would go to war for Kyle Schwarber. And I think he would do that for the team. And it's like that's big. Like you don't win a World Series without a leader like that. Talent can only take you so far. You have to have the leadership, and you have to have just that sort of vibe. And I know Phillies fans hate the word vibes over the last few weeks, but like vibes matter. Like they just do. Like you can't just sit silent and go win a World Series. It just doesn't happen. So yeah, I mean it's big, and I mean I've said this so many times. I don't know where this team would be over the last few years without Kyle Schwarber.
100%. And you mentioned the vibes of it. They very clearly were in a funk for a little bit here. They did take 2 out of 3 for the Dodgers. I think a massive series for this Phillies team.
Yeah,
At the point of
huge.
us recording this before Game 1 of the Diamondback series, who are one of the hottest teams, if not the hottest team in baseball right now. Where do you think this team is at? Are they fully out of the funk? Are they working their way? What's your vibe check, Luke?
Yeah, I think they're just about back. If they win the night, I think I'll deem them officially back.
Yeah.
Jordan Montgomery's not a good pitcher, but the Diamondbacks are a good team. Diamondbacks are averaging over 7 runs in their last 14 games. I believe they're 12-2 in those games. They had the best record since the All-Star break. They've been a really hot team. The offense has been rolling, and you see Zach Gallen later in this series. Right? You see some of their better pitchers. So tonight's the night to really take it to them. And I think, especially with a lefty on the mound, which we know how good Schwarber and Harper have been specifically against lefties this year, I think tonight's a really good chance for them to make the comeback.
Yep, absolutely. So we're going to be along every step of the way right here on Phillies Digest. Once again, make sure you guys are smashing that subscribe button if you have not already. Just 6.5% of you guys watching these videos have hit that subscribe button so far, so we got to get that number up. I think this Phillies team is breaking out, and I cannot wait to talk about all of it. We got another video just dropped on the Matt Strom situation with him getting into, hitting a batter, sticking up for Cassie that I had a blast breaking down. So make sure to dive into that as well. Tap in for all the content. We'll be talking with you next time right here on Phillies Digest. Peace.